Hello and welcome to another edition of Addition. I'm your host, Addy Snowden. I'm a big tech product manager, mathematician, futurist, tech optimist, artist, and creator, and I'm here every week bringing you the news, the hot topics in tech, some career advice, and letting you know what I'm geeked out about this week. So before we get into today's episode, which is a really good one, I want you to go ahead and hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. If you're listening on your podcast player, go ahead and leave a 5-star review right now. Go ahead and share this podcast with a friend, with a neighbor. If you came across this on LinkedIn, go ahead and repost. If you came across this on Twitter, go ahead and repost. You know the deal. Like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. So my Instagram and TikTok is at Addition with Addy. Twitter is at Addition Pod and at Addy Adewusi. You can subscribe to the Substack, which is how you get every episode directly into your email inbox. That is additionpod.substack.com. And I do accept sponsors. You can email me at additionpod@gmail.com. It felt so good. I got my first sponsorship check deposited into my bank account today. So I'm feeling awesome. I appreciate the support, you guys. Okay, so let's get into the hot topics in tech. So we have to finally talk about Kamala Harris's Gen Z marketing team and how amazing they are doing on social media. So CNN finally released an article explaining, and I'm actually going to read the headline of the article. It's called Inside the Gen Z Operation Powering Harris's Online Remix. Okay. And they put a lot of effort into this article. It's a deep dive. I have it linked in the show notes. I highly recommend reading it. So I'm going to read a couple quotes from the article. So I quote, "The group that runs the @Kamala HQ TikTok is very young. Run by Parker Butler, 24, with Lauren Cap, 25, the 5-person Gen Z team has been given training and ground rules and then empowered to cook online. The team consists of a lot of young people who just get the internet instinctually," Butler said in a Friday interview with CNN. "Each campaign's social media account has its own personality with content and format curated to suit its viewers. The campaign's X account, for instance, is geared toward political junkies. Instagram is very millennial. Facebook aimed at older folks, and TikTok for a young audience," says Butler. So that's one quote. I'm going to do another quote because a lot of you guys have been following Kamala HQ, which all of a sudden had millions of followers, and this explains how that happened. So I quote, "Biden HQ, a social account on multiple platforms, was rebranded as Kamala HQ in the hours after Biden passed the torch to Harris. The account's following now at over 3.3 million followers, doubled overnight in the hours after it switched over. The Kamala Harris TikTok, her personal handle, gained 2 million followers in the 24 hours after it began posting on July 25th and is now up to 4.3 million followers. Feminin and this is so hard to say. This is a Chapel Rosan. This is Addy. I'm going to say it slowly. Femininomenon, a TikTok created by Cap and posted to the @Kamala HQ account with audio from the eponymous song by Gen Z pop star Chapel Roan, is the account's highest performing and most liked post with 56 million plays and 7.3 million likes," end quote. Okay, that was a lot. First, I'm going to just toggle my settings real quick because I'm also live on TikTok and just need to do this really quick update. Okay. All right. So Kamala HQ, everyone's been talking about it and I have not talked about it on the podcast because honestly, it took a minute. It took a minute for me to register that we even got a new presidential candidate when Biden stepped down. And I also wasn't sure what the reaction to Kamala was going to be. You know, she's a woman. We've only had two recently, Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris, and she's also a woman of color. She's of Black and Indian descent. So I really didn't know how this was going to go. So we've all been watching Kamala's on TikTok, like she's created so many trends. I got into Chapel Roan because of that femininomenon TikTok that was referenced in the article, and have gone on to now really listen to the Chapel Roan album. Brat was also something Kamala used in her social media based on the Charlie XCX Brat album, which I also have now made TikToks to, I've danced to, I've listened to pretty much the whole album, and all of a sudden like Charlie XCX now. So these Gen Zs, their age ranges, well, 24 and 25 are the two people that they mentioned here, are influencing the world and through this presidential election. And I think it makes sense. Kamala needed to get young people on board to support her campaign. And she also needed to market in a way that was going to create virality. And I believe that the best way to do that is by appealing to young people, appealing to trending platforms. Like CNN is going to talk about what's going on TikTok, whereas TikTok's not always going to talk about what's going on in CNN. What young people are doing is always, where the future is and what people are paying the most attention to. So just props to Kamala for having this amazing team. And also props to the Gen Zs who are influencing the world, who are influencing culture through running these TikTok and social media accounts. So right now it's working pretty well. So I don't know what's going to happen in the election. This is not a political podcast, but I'm a marketer, and I'm also a technologist, and I'm also a creator, social media, etc. So this was a story that I just had to share. This article actually came out today from CNN, August 10th. Oh, it published August 10th. So, but it somehow just got promoted on TechMeme, which is where I get most of my news today. So I guess TechMeme was a little slow. So check out the article. It's in the show notes. Let me know what you think. Do you think we should be worried that people could be this influential through social media, or do you think this is a sign of things to come? All right, so the next article, actually, it came out a few weeks ago as well, and I've been sitting on it because I found it so hilarious. It's an SF Gate article titled "A Cesspool: Laid Off California Tech Workers Are Sick to Death of LinkedIn." I found this title so hilarious. Like I came across this article maybe a few weeks ago. It was published July 31st, so I guess a little over 2 weeks ago now. And just by reading the headline and looking at the photo that they used to describe this, communicated so much but I wasn't ready to talk about it on the podcast yet because it's so real. So I wanted to dedicate some time to we need to talk about LinkedIn. I feel like we need a reset right now. So I'm going to do some quotes from the article just to give you context as to what it's about. Of course, it's in the show notes. So I quote, "Over the past few years, scores of California tech workers have ended up in the exact same position, laid off, looking for work on LinkedIn, and sick of it. LinkedIn, part job site and part social network, has become an all but necessary tool for the office job seeking masses in the Bay Area and beyond. As tech companies gut their workforces, people who would otherwise give the blue and white site a wide berth feel compelled to scroll for hours every day for job opportunities. LinkedIn is a dominant force in the professional world with more than 1 billion users and 67 million weekly job searchers. That scale, plus the torrent of self-promotion and corporate platitudes fueling the platform, has long made it a symbol of modern capitalism. Now in the age of tech's layoffs, it is also a symbol of dread," end quote. What a way to open an article. Like we all have a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn. I'm currently in a love relationship with LinkedIn, but that is 100% because I'm not actively seeking a new job right now. I have, it's not fun anymore. And I think we just need a whole reset. And I think LinkedIn just kind of came into people's lives. I feel like I'm going to outline like, what is LinkedIn? What is it for? And also mentioning what you're doing wrong. And I'm not saying you as a job seeker, I'm saying you as someone who is on LinkedIn, you have a profile, but you're just not maximizing it. It's like at this point, it's another Facebook if you're not using LinkedIn to your advantage. So I'm going to go through my perspective and my opinion on what we could be using LinkedIn for, because that's 1 billion users and 67 million weekly job searchers. That's a huge audience and community. So, all right. So what is LinkedIn? LinkedIn is, for me, it's an online resume. It's a job board, and it's also a marketing platform for people, organizations, and companies. So it's a way for me as an individual to market myself, organizations like nonprofits or groups. I'm sure you guys have seen LinkedIn groups. They can promote themselves and gain followers and members. And also companies. Companies use it so much for branding. I see a lot of HR type content like, oh, it's so great to work here. You know, here's our new intern, like that kind of stuff. But companies also run ads as well to promote, because people are on LinkedIn, because it's Facebook now. People just scroll it because that's how they find out what someone they went to college with 10, 20 years ago is doing. All right. So what is it for? So for me, number one, it's relationship building and relationship nurturing. So LinkedIn is it's really low access. Like let's say I wanted to follow Charlie, like if I wanted to connect with Charlie D'Amelio, if I followed her on TikTok, there's no way I'm not going to say there's no way she's going to follow me back, but I'm not going to I'm not going to think that she's going to follow me back. Like, that's just not what TikTok is for. Whereas LinkedIn, if she was on LinkedIn, I sent a connection request, there's a chance she may accept that connection request. She maybe she wants to network with people in Google or in marketing or things like that. Whereas so you can build new relationships, like a cold email, a cold connection request. People are going to be way more receptive to that on LinkedIn. And in a way, that's why it's like Facebook. They do have the following tool now where you can just follow people. But I feel like everyone that I follow, I would want to have a connection with on LinkedIn. So most people are still submitting connection requests, and it's up to your discretion whether to accept them or not. It's also great for relationship nurturing. Some people you may not talk on the phone with every night, but they kind of keep up with you through LinkedIn. They at least know where you're working. They know if you went back to grad school or something like that. So it's, and the more you post, you can nurture that relationship more and make people feel like they do still know you, even though it's been a long time. They have an idea of what you're doing, who you are, what you're about because of LinkedIn. So number two, personal branding. LinkedIn lets you customize. You get a profile picture, you get a background, you can have a headline. It's the perfect personal branding platform. It's like, it doesn't have to be exactly what your resume says. It can be what you want. It could be completely set up for your next role. Like, let's say you're in marketing now, but you wanted to move to sales. Your LinkedIn could be sales focused. It can be whatever you want it to be. It's a blank slate, blank canvas. So personal branding, company branding. So you can create company pages, even if you don't have an official LLC, but you help people with resumes or do tutoring. You can create a company on there. Or if you have a more involved business or side hustle, you could create easily for free, just create a company page and start building your company brand. And of course, big companies do that as well. And then recruiting. So people who are looking to fill positions at companies, that's their job. They're going to be looking through LinkedIn as well. So there you go. And also research. So before I'm doing like an interview, even if it's a podcast interview, like I have their LinkedIn pulled up. I take a look to see what their interests, their hobbies, their activities, what are things that I can connect with them on. All right, so that's what LinkedIn's for, in my perspective. And I just want to remind everyone of this, because what it's not supposed to be for is as soon as you get laid off, you post that you're open to work and start messaging people randomly. That is what LinkedIn is not for. Okay. So what you are doing wrong. So this is from my perspective as I'm scrolling LinkedIn, because I like to keep up with my network. It is Facebook for me. I don't have a Facebook. So if I want to see what's going on in my network, I'm on LinkedIn. All right. So what I see people doing wrong. Number one, not posting. If you're not posting on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is basically like not even like a yellow kind of a yellow pages and then your face pops up and your work experience. It's we have no idea who you are. We don't know how old that photo is. That's the one photo we've seen of you. You could have taken it 20 years ago. We don't know if you have a family. We don't know anything about you. So if you don't post content, so that's the number one thing I see people doing wrong. Next, not showing who you are. I kind of touched on that. Like, no one wants to work with a piece of paper with credentials. You know, who is the person behind this person? Like, a lot of the main thing that tells me about who most people are on LinkedIn is where they went to school, their work experience, but we are so much more than that. And I think that tells a very flat story and also lets you be vulnerable to let people create an identity for who you are. Based on your school and your education. Like, people are judging you completely from your photo, your work experience, your school, and your education. So post more, then you have more control over your brand. All right, not keeping it up to date with new job skills and responsibilities. Yeah, so definitely update your LinkedIn. I see this most for people who are laid off. They're afraid to acknowledge that they're not that company anymore, but I think that's really stifling. I think I love when people put career break, volunteer, sabbatical, because it's real, you know. Everyone knows. Like, I mean, they're gonna find out at some point that it's been a year and you haven't been working there. You know, I think keep it up to date. And if you get a new job, update it. If you go back to college, update it. If you take a photography class, it's completely irrelevant to your professional life. Add it to your LinkedIn. It adds so much more color to who you are as a person. All right. Another thing that I see people doing wrong, focusing on posting certifications and course completions instead of what you're doing with them. Like, my biggest cringe, like, really grinds my gear is when I see people like in 10 weeks post that they completed 10 certifications or 10 courses. And this is not me being a hater. Like, I absolutely take those certifications, take those courses and add them to your LinkedIn. But it doesn't say anything other than you passed a test. It doesn't, most recruiters, I mean, they don't even care if you got a degree in the subject. They want to see, do you have actual work experience in it? So I think unless you're communicating that, hey, I'm someone who's a continued learner, but if you actually want to impress someone, instead of, posting that you completed this AI course, like, create something with that AI. Do you get what I mean? Like, show an example, show a template of something that you have, what you learned, even if it's a blog post, like, hey, I took this course, I learned this, I learned that. This is how I plan to implement it in my day-to-day. You got to take it to another level. Oh, thanks for liking the live, Jolene. All right. And then not using a professional headshot. That's another thing I see people doing wrong. Like, they literally just take a selfie and that's their LinkedIn picture. I see men doing this a lot. And for women, I see a lot of women who you can tell that the photo was taken at a party and it has that like extra flash and you can kind of tell that they've been drinking a little bit. They got that little glint in their eye. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like, that really gets under my skin. I don't know why, but I'm just like, of all photos, that's your LinkedIn photo. Like, that's the one photo that you had on your phone that you thought was a good idea to be your professional resume photo. There's AI for this now. You can just upload a regular photo and then get it headshotified, like get it professionalized. It's not that hard. I can add one to the show notes. Thanks for the gifts, Jolene. I really appreciate that. I'm live on TikTok, you guys. All right. So, so use those. Jolene used an AI headshot maker and it was so easy. It was like less than $10 and she got like 100 options for headshots from just using a regular picture. She's not using it, but it was cool. Okay. Next, what you're doing wrong, not outsourcing if you don't have the time. So this is geared more to more senior people. I learned recently that a coworker of mine uses a LinkedIn agency to post content for him. Find someone to do it for you, okay? There's no excuse because one day you're going to need LinkedIn and you don't want to be one of those people who just adds the green circle open to work and is now constantly pestering their communications for jobs. All right. And then focusing on engagement metrics. So LinkedIn, I don't know why they don't do this, but hey Tay, LinkedIn, I don't know why they don't do this, but they don't show views. Like TikTok shows how many people viewed. And if like, I think that's positive reinforcement. Like even if I got 2 likes, if I got 1,000 views, I'm like, yeah, I got 1,000 views or more than that. And LinkedIn shows you your views. You just got to click into it. But I think people post on LinkedIn and they're so nervous because they're like, oh my God, this is like my biggest professional community. I don't want to make a mistake posting. And they get 2 likes and they don't look to see how many views. And it's like, no one cares about me. I'm never going to post on LinkedIn again. That's not true. A lot of our posts get a lot of reach. The reason why people don't like or engage on your post or comment is because LinkedIn's algorithm will everyone in their network, it will show up on their feed that that person liked your post and that person commented or engaged on your post. And I'm not sure if there's a way to turn it off, but trust me, I've spent a lot of time in the LinkedIn privacy settings and there's a lot of toggles on and off that you can do in there. But I think that's a user experience issue that I personally would change for LinkedIn to get a little bit, like we don't need it to be like Twitter or X where every post or not repost because you want people to see that, but every like, every comment, every engagement. Okay, sorry, no one's joining the live tonight. Okay. All right. So those are my LinkedIn do's and don'ts. We may need to do this refresher every year. I've been getting a bit more comfortable posting content. Well, I mean, as you guys know, I'm obviously comfortable posting content on LinkedIn, but I posted my first dance video on LinkedIn. It was very appropriate, very demure. And it was really interesting. It was really interesting how I got a lot of engagement on that. And I also got a lot of connection requests from that and of people that I actually know. So I guess people were sharing it, things like that. So I encourage you to get out of whatever your form of comfort zone is on LinkedIn. Okay. All right. So the next segment is the career segment. I'm seeing you guys in the chat. I will get back to you after I finish recording. Okay. The career segment. So deep dive into the 15 commitments. So we are doing this series, going through the 15 commitments of conscious leadership. Amazing book. I hope you guys have been enjoying these deep dive. Definitely let me know in the comments if you've been enjoying this podcast series with the 15 commitments. So we're on commitment 7 now, which is generating appreciation. So I'll read the commitment, generating appreciation. I commit to living in appreciation, fully opening to both receiving and giving appreciation. So what I love about this commitment is that it says giving and receiving, because I think it's easy for some people like myself to give people their flowers, give people their accolades, tell them how great they are. But if someone tells me something positive about myself, I may second guess it or think they're just saying that or think they're, just trying to gas me up. I'm a little untrustworthy, But now that I'm practicing the 15 commitments, I'm committing to being open to receiving appreciation. So that's something that I love that they emphasize, and also giving appreciation. So I can share a story about how I've done this recently. I wanted to break the ice with someone at my company, and I never met them before. I didn't know anything about them, really. So I just sent an email of appreciation and with the subject line, thank you. And that paid so many dividends to be like, what a great entrance to a relationship with someone, hearing everything that they respect and admire about you. I mean, no one's going to resist that, like, not in a manipulative way, but people don't show appreciation enough. And I think that's the point. So being someone that prioritizes commitment, or prioritizes showing and appreciation and receiving appreciation, it's like you're just a positive light in the world at this point. So, okay, so that's the career segment. And what am I geeked out about this week? Oh, hey, Mariana. All right. I'm just loving that so many of my fans have popped in to the TikTok live. I love you guys. All right. Thank you. So, what am I geeked out about this week? Pictionary on TV. Okay. So, my wife Jolene and I were casted for Pictionary on TV probably about a couple months ago now. And yesterday, Wednesday, August 14th, was our film day. And oh my gosh, it was so fun. Like, so we both love game shows. And Pictionary is something that I hadn't played until my team at Google played it maybe a year ago or so. And surprisingly, I won. And so I had to happen for me to even be open to applying to be on Pictionary. But and also Jolene, she goes live on TikTok, and she sometimes plays Pictionary with her live too. So we both just like Pictionary. We like to draw and all of that stuff. So anyway, so we get casted. We had to go through several rounds of auditions, believe it or not, to go on Pictionary on TV. But we excelled, and they gave us positive feedback throughout the way. They made us feel really confident that we were gonna, be good contestants on the show. But you never know until you actually film it. So we filmed it yesterday. We had celebrity guests, I guess, like their coaches, team captains. I'm gonna put the link to the show, not our episode, but the show in the show notes, so you can see how the show goes. But we got partnered with Lonnie Love, who is someone who I grew up watching on TV. The other team had Kel Mitchell, who I also grew up on watching TV. He's from Kenan and Kel, obviously, and the host is Jerry O'Connell, who was an absolute hoot. Like, talk about, I'd never been around a comedian / host in real life. And I mean, you have to really, it's being a leader in a way. And he's really good at what he does. Super funny. So yeah, so we filmed the show. We can't tell you the outcome, what anything happened, but we had an absolute blast. And we were literally, I just found it on TikTok. I just saw this TikTok ad, and it was like casting for Pictionary, and applied. We both applied. Jolene got the call back, but because I was her teammate, I got to go with her. So it was such an amazing experience. So it was so glad to catch up with you guys. Please stay tuned for next week's episode. I don't even know why I said that. I'm just happy to record a podcast that I'm really excited about. Tech news has been a little bit negative. So it's really fun to share this positive news with you guys today. All right. Have a great day. Bye.